Alright guys, so today we're going to take a look at and do a demo of Milkman the Amp. So this is actually a portable guitar amplifier. It's not just one of those preamp pedals. I know it looks like one of those preamp pedals, but it's not. These days you'll find a lot of these preamp pedals on the market. Basically guitar amp manufacturers putting their the preamp section of their amp into a pedal. You can see the Benson Germanium preamp that I did a video of before, but there's also the Tone King Imperial. I know Universal Audio does a whole line of them as well. Origin Effects does a whole line of them. Friedman, right? There's all these guitar amp companies that are now putting their basically the preamp section of their amp into a pedal format, but those are actually just preamp pedals, right? My Tube Stutter Lightkeeper is another example. Yeah, even two-powered ones like Tube Stutter and Kingsley and some other companies, Effectrode, right? They put like two-powered preamp sections into a pedal format. But the Milkman the Amp is a little bit different. You can use it as a preamp pedal, yes, but it can actually just be a standalone amplifier, which is really interesting. So yes, it does look like a guitar pedal, right? Because it is kind of a guitar pedal, but it's also a fully featured guitar amplifier. It can just serve as your amp head, actually. So yeah, if you decide to use it as a pedal, you can use the tremolo and reverb. You can turn that on and off because you can use that as a dedicated, just turning on the tremolo reverb and then putting it in the front of your actual amp, or if you just use this as an amp by itself, right? You can just turn on and off those effects. So here are the different controls here. You got volume, and you got a master volume as well, and treble and bass. That's your 2-band EQ. You got the rate, def. This is for the tremolo controls, I think, and the reverb effect. So these are for the effects, reverb, tremolo, and then this is your amp settings, basically. So yeah, it doesn't weigh too much, about 2 pounds. You also have a dedicated headphone amplifier, which hooks up directly into the output of the amp, so you're not really losing anything by using the headphone amplifier. Good for practicing. I really do like this wood finish on the sides here. It reminds me of my UA Volt 276 recording interface. It does a similar thing. It looks more vintage that way. If you look at the back here, you have of course the power cord here, and this is to on and off switch for the amp. You have a speaker output here, and this is what makes it interesting because the speaker output really means that it can actually drive a cabinet. So 4, 8, or 16 ohms, you can actually do that, and you actually have this connector as well, which is like for more professional settings. I think you can use this bigger connector, but for me, I'm just going to use the standard 6.35 millimeter 1/4 inch jack into my speaker cabinet. And balanced out, which is good for, if you're going out directly into a mixer, you can do that. You have a ground lift control right here, and a sim on and off. If you're going balanced out into your recording desk or a mixer, then you might want to do this cabinet simulation. Otherwise, it won't sound quite as natural. So it's good. Yeah, it's a built-in cabinet emulation here. Input here is for your guitar input normally, but if you're going to be using this as part of your pedal chain, then you have the pedal out that's going into your other pedals or into your amplifier. So yeah, they have the two of them right here. Essentially, I think this will be more of like a line out type of output, this pedal out. But yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, unlike other guitar preamplifier type pedals, this one actually has a speaker out because it actually is a 50-watt amp. So it's not just a preamp pedal, it has a power amp inside of it as well. Here's a manual here, 50-watt guitar amplifier. And Milkman, by the way, they're like a boutique guitar amplifier company from San Francisco. I'm quite familiar with them because I owned a Milkman 1-watt plus before. That was the amplifier I had for like 5 years. I actually met the founder of Milkman, Tim Marcus himself, because I used to live in San Francisco, and one time my Milkman did have an issue, and I actually brought it to him in his warehouse, and he fixed it for me. So I actually met the guy. Pretty cool guy. But yeah, that's it's cool. Going back to Milkman again, essentially this is another one of their amps. Yeah, that's also in a pedal format. It's very portable. So this actually has a vacuum tube inside of it. It doesn't look like it does, but it does. It has a single 12AX7 in the preamp, which of course makes it more like an actual tube amp. Not real exactly like a tube amp because the power section is Class D, but the preamp section at least does have a tube in it. So it gives it a little bit more of a tube amp feel to it. This tube can be accessed moving. Okay, so yeah, basically it's this 12AX7 tube is inside of there. And I wonder what brand it is. Maybe Electro Harmonics? I don't know. They even give you the YouTube link here. Not like you can click on it in this manual. Okay, so the amplifier controls volume, treble, bass, reverb, depth, speed, and master. And the master volume is more like a master fader of a mixing console. Right, makes sense. The rear panel, yeah, you plug your guitar into the input, of course. Pedal out is a line level output when you use this actual part of your pedal chain, if you want to use it like that. And then you can switch the cab sim on and off. Balanced out, a line level balanced output on an XLR connector. Yeah, this must be plugged into a dedicated line level input or into a microphone input, featuring a switchable pad that can reduce the level of incoming signals. Okay, so I wonder if you can plug the balanced out into the input of a mic preamp. I wonder if you can do that. But this says it already has significantly higher level output than the microphone level signal. Yeah, so if you have any ground noise, you can use that ground lift. Speaker, you can power 4A to 16 ohm. I think most speaker cabinets, or most speakers actually with the, actually most cabinets with the speaker, I should say, are 8 ohm speakers. 8 ohms is pretty much the norm. I mean, there may be 4 ohm or 16 ohm speakers, but the majority of speakers I've seen are 8 ohm speakers in 8 ohm cabinets. Oh, also cool thing about the power. The amp can support any power input between 100 and 240 volts. This makes it ideal to international travel. So the amp can automatically detects the input voltage and adjusts it. So no matter where you travel, whether it be Europe or Asia or North America, you don't have to deal with any of those converters maybe. Because like a lot of times when you have electronics and you use it between different countries, it can actually short circuit the electronics depending on the different voltage that you use. And I've had that happen before where I brought some speakers from Asia, and I mean these are actually powered speakers from Asia, and I plugged it into the outlet of my American power outlet, and yeah, it kind of just shorted out the speaker because I guess it was used to, it didn't have any voltage transformer and it's used to the Asian voltage. So it's good that this will automatically adjust that. Headroom, I think this is written by Tim Marcus himself. Here's how I like to set up the amp for maximum clean headroom. So this supposedly has good amount of clean headroom, which is what I'm looking for. I'm kind of looking to replace my bigger tube amp, really heavy tube amps with something like this that's much more portable. Obviously not the same sound, but if I can get close to it, it'd be nice. So this is 50 watts, and that is really truly 50 watts. 50 watts into 8 ohms. It's like something like my Vox MV50, for example, that advertises itself as 50 watts, but it's not really, because that's at 4 ohms. And it's actually 25 watts at 50 ohms. So, I mean, 25 watts at 8 ohms. And 8 ohms is normally what you would go into, right, into a speaker cabinet. So some amp manufacturers like to kind of exaggerate the amount of wattage. So yeah, in the case of my Vox MV50, it was not really 50 watts. It was 25 watts into 8 ohms. But the Milkman the Amp actually is 50 watts into 8 ohms. So they don't try to exaggerate it, which is nice. Headphone output, heat gets warm. Line level versus mic level. Wide line over XLR. Balance line level is an industry standard. Yeah. Well, yeah, XLR is pretty much the industry standard here. The amp's design is a professional piece of equipment. Cool. And a direct box. Anyways, this thing's very versatile. You can use it as part of your pedal chain, as a preamp pedal. You can use it as an amp by itself, or you can use it as a cabinet sim, and goes directly into your like recording desk with DAW. You can really do a lot of things. Goes into your mixer. Like, it's a really versatile piece of kit, and that's why I got it. Normally this thing costs like what, around $800 I think. So I got it, or $750 or $800. Anyways, I got it at refurbished basically for $600. So I got it a little bit discounted from musician's friend. So that's nice. But yeah, normally expect to pay about you know, like around $700 to $800 for this thing. But yeah, pretty versatile piece of kit. Let me try it out. I'm going to be plugging it into my Vox BC108 cabinet. It has a 8-ohm speaker, warehouse guitar speaker inside of it, which is an 8-inch speaker as well. So it's a 8-inch 8-ohm speaker. And yeah, that's how I intend to use it. Basically, I just basically want to reduce the size of my amp gear, because yeah, honestly, I want to just reduce the amount of things that I have in my house so I have more space for myself, and reducing the size of my guitar amp is one of those things. So anyways, stay tuned guys. I'm going to check this out and use it with the Vox BC108 cabinet that I have. Alright, so now I have the Vox MV50 amp head hooked up to the Vox BC108 cabinet. So let me tell you a bit about this setup, because this is currently my setup for a small hybrid tube amp head connected to this small cabinet with an 8-inch speaker in it. And this is going to be the setup that I'll use for the testing Milkman the Amp as well, is really using this cabinet because I kind of want to just have like a small setup for practicing. And a lot of the smaller tube amps on the market, they just don't have enough headroom for me, right? So I kind of wanted to get the Milkman the Amp just to have higher headroom, but I also want to have a smaller like kind of cabinet as well, like this, so it doesn't take up too much space. So anyways, I find like this to be a nice little baseline, because this thing is pretty inexpensive. It's like $250 to $300, and it sounds pretty good, like pretty decent for the size and the price. It's a hybrid tube amp, and of course made by Vox, a very famous British amp company. And this is the boutique version, which attempts to emulate the tones of a Dumble amplifier, which is like one of those really, really expensive amplifiers that that most people cannot have access to, only rich people basically do. But anyways, I find it sounds pretty nice for what it is. And for the price point, I still find that it can't really be beat. It just sounds really good for the price. I mean, like for the small size and for how cheap it is, it sounds pretty good. Anyways, I already like talked about this amp head in a few of my other videos before. Compared it to the Swart Atomic Jr., compared it to the Quilter Overdrive, and yeah, I actually think it's not quite as good as the Swart, obviously, because it's not a true tube amp, but it actually like sounded better than the Quilter Overdrive, which is an entirely solid state amp, and that Quilter Overdrive was a lot more expensive. So I find like comparing it to the Milkman the Amp would also be a really nice comparison, because these are both hybrid tube amps. So the Vox MV50 uses a new tube, which is kind of like a different kind of tube that Korg invented. Korg is the owners of Vox, by the way. So they used a new kind of tube in this thing, which drives the preamp section, and then it has a power amp section, which is rated at 25 watts into 8 ohms. They advertise it as 50 watts, but that's into 4 ohms. We're using 8 ohm cabinet here and 8 ohm speakers, so basically it's 25 watts into 8 ohms here. And the Milkman the Amp uses an actual 12AX7 preamp tube, and then the power amp section is true 50 watts in Class D into 8 ohms. So yeah, we can do some comparison between the two here. Obviously this is more expensive. This is like a $700 amp head, essentially, also a pedal. So this one's definitely more versatile, right? Because it can also be a pedal as well. But anyways, I'm using this as an amp head right now. So about $700 for this one, about $250 to $300 for this one. So this one's more expensive, but they're both hybrid tube amps essentially, right? This one just has a new tube in the preamp section. This one has an actual 12AX7 vacuum tube. And this one 25 watts in the power amp section to 8 ohms. This one 50 watts into 8 ohms in the power amp section. I think both Class D, of course. If it was Class A or Class AB, it'll be like more expensive, I think. But yeah, first let's just test the tones using the Vox MV50, which I've demoed a few times already, but let's just go and put everything up to 12 and check the sound again for this one, because I do think this one sounds really good for the size and price. Pretty impressively good, actually. So I'm going to put 12 gain, 12 o'clock gain, 12 o'clock tone, 12 o'clock volume, and flip it on here. And yeah, you guys can hear what it sounds like. I've got my Yamaha Revstar Professional here with TV Jones Zoomtron pickups in it. And I'm just going to be using kind of the middle position here, and with volume and tone at full, so you guys can hear what it sounds like. So this is the Vox MV50 Boutique. I don't have any pedals really turned on right now. I just have a looper pedal and an overdrive, which I can use to kind of test out the overdriven tone and show you guys what it's like. But this is just the clean tone, Vox MV50 Boutique. Again, I think it sounds really good for a $250 amp head. For something like this, and this size and this price, it sounds really good. You can hear like, it's really actually touch sensitive here. So I can kind of pick softly, like, and I can pick hard like this. Like, yeah, because it's touch sensitive, so it's got the dynamics to it. Pretty impressive. Responds really close to an actual tube amp does. It's not a full tube amp, of course, it's a hybrid, but responds really close to an actual tube amp. Really impressive. Really a good amount of touch sensitive type of dynamics on this one. You can pick hard and it'll sound louder. You pick softly, it'll go softer, which is really kind of a hallmark of tube amps, right? Usually solid state amps don't do that as good, but this one does it really well. So yeah, this has been my go-to like kind of small practice amp head, which is like, if the Milkman is better than this, then we'll see, but that's why I'm doing this comparison is, can the Milkman be actually better than this? I know it should have at least more headroom because it has more wattage, but yeah, I just want it to sound at least as good as the MV50, right? Maybe turn on the overdrive. I have a Snouse Black Box overdrive, by the way. It's a kind of a blues breaker style overdrive pedal. So it kind of sounds more like Marshall-y, I guess, when I turn it up. So anyways, let's turn it on, see what it sounds like with gain, overdrive gain. Sounds really good even with overdrive on, right? So yeah, I'm pretty impressed with the Vox MV50 Boutique. I haven't tried the other versions, but they have like a few other, yeah, maybe like 4 or 5 other versions, the clean, high gain metal or something, and then of course the AC30 version. But the Boutique version, at least to my ears, sounds really nice, especially for the price, right? $250 US for this thing, sounds really good. yeah, very impressed with the Vox MV50. So this is going to be my baseline. The Milkman the Amp has to be at least as good as this, right? In order for me to actually, you know, upgrade it. So yeah, really impressive small little amp head for 250 bucks. So now we're gonna switch over to using the Milkman the Amp now. That was the reference, right? So the Milkman the Amp, more expensive. It's got more headroom, it's got more wattage, it's got double the wattage actually, 50 watts into 8 ohms. I would expect it to sound at least as good as the MV50, but we'll see, right? So yeah, I'm gonna plug this into the speaker out in the back, and then going to plug it in here. I'm just gonna switch out the power cable. Okay. All right, and then so I'm going to turn all the controls up to 12 o'clock, just like I did on the MV50. So I have a volume, treble, bass, and master all at 12 o'clock. I'm not going to turn on reverb and tremolo just yet. I'm going to leave those effects off for now and then turn it on. Okay, now it may take a bit to actually warm up because it actually does have a preamp tube inside of it. So let's wait for a bit. These tubes do take a while to warm up. So it actually does have a 12x7 in it, so let's wait a bit. Oh, my bad. I forgot to, yeah, this one goes into the input. There we go. There we go. Okay, what I notice is definitely it sounds a bit more darker than the MV50 does. And I do have treble at 12. My tone control's up at full. So is this just a naturally darker sounding amp than the MV50? Maybe it is. Kind of reminds me of my Keeley, of my Supro Keeley 12 amp. That one sounds kind of dark, just like this. Initially, right? You gotta like put pedals on it for it to gain more color, but initially this sounds pretty dark to me compared to the MV50. Bridge pickup then? Even the bridge pickup sounds a bit warm. Yeah, I think it's just a naturally like darker, warmer sounding amp. Especially compared to the MV50 Boutique. This one, yeah, this one definitely sounds like it has more clarity to it. This one sounds darker, for sure. Not quite as bright as the MV50 Boutique is, for sure. Let's see if it gets the touch dynamics here. Have it. I just feel like the MV50 still has better touch dynamics. But it, I mean, it's for a hybrid tube amp, it's fine. Still better than a lot of solid state amps, I feel like. And by the way, it is actually built in San Francisco, just like every other Milkman amp. So you get the quality there that Milkman is known for. I mean, Milkman, like I said, they're compared to Vox, they're like almost the opposite. Vox is a huge company, right? They're owned by Korg, which is a huge Japanese company. The Milkman is kind of a small operation based in San Francisco. It's like almost like a one-man operation, I think. So yeah, and they're all like hand-built. All of his amps are hand-built in San Francisco, so just like this one is. Yeah, it sounds nice. Now, does it sound like it's $500 better than the MV50? No. And it doesn't have, like it does have the touch dynamics, the touch sensitive dynamics and stuff, just maybe not, maybe it's just because it doesn't have the clarity that the MV50 does. The MV50 Boutique, I should say, doesn't have the same clarity, just sounds, yeah, warmer and darker. So it doesn't seem like it has the same level of touch harmonics, but maybe it does. Maybe it's just because it's darker, so it's a little bit harder to hear. amp, right? But is it better sounding than the MV50? I'm not sure. At least like, I don't actually like this darker tonality that much. Maybe I'll turn up the treble. I'm gonna turn up the treble and see if that helps. Okay, that's better. So if the treble's at 12 o'clock in the middle, it sounds too dark for me. I'm gonna turn the treble up. Maybe to around 3 o'clock here. Turn the treble up to around 3 o'clock. It finally starts to sound like... Yeah, so if I have the treble at 12 o'clock, it sounds like it has like a blanket over it. But turn the treble up. That's better. Turning the treble up is better. But is this still better sounding than the MV50? I'm not sure. I mean, the MV50 just sounds really good for the price and the size. Definitely can go louder than the MV50 because it has more power on tap. It's 50 watts. That's double the amount of wattage of the MV50. So yeah, I mean, let's turn up the master. It definitely sound loud. Oh, I guess. Start to get some natural overdrive in it as well. You can see more of my playing. Here we go. And it adds a little bit of natural overdrive, of course, but it still has a lot of clean headroom here. So that one of the reasons why I bought this one right over the MV50 is just because it has more wattage, which gives it more headroom. So because I like to use pedals a lot, right? So because I like to use pedals a lot, definitely having more headroom is better. So yeah, oh, did I have the reverb on? I didn't actually mean to. So yeah, let's so reverb off. Let's turn the reverb. So the reverb actually, I think I put it around 12. So if you put the reverb around 12, it sounds like this. Like an actual tube spring reverb or anything, and this digital reverb I think was like the designer was Robert Keeley of this digital reverb, I believe. So he's a pretty renowned pedal designer. So I've had actually Keeley's Omni reverb before, so I'm familiar with Robert Keeley's reverb effects. Although he's not really necessarily known for reverb, but he designs so many guitar pedals. But yeah, this reverb, I think it's he had Tim Marcus, he had some help from Robert Keeley to design this, I think. But anyways, this is a decent sounding reverb. It's not like the best sounding reverb or anything, but it's decent. Definitely not as good as an actual real Accutronics tank reverb, like an actual spring reverb that's built into an amp, but it's definitely an okay approximation, right, of a spring reverb. Sounds like in full blast here. I don't know if you want more reverb than that, you'll probably want to get a reverb pedal. But I think this is enough reverb for me. I usually dial it back down to around like 10 o'clock, around that area for reverb. But let's stop the reverb. That was the reverb. The digital reverb is okay. It's not like the best, but it's decent. Yeah, definitely like, usable. Now the tremolo. Let's check out the tremolo, and I'm gonna have the def and the rate set at both 12 o'clock here. Let's check it out. This is the tremolo. I usually don't use tremolo effects, but here it is. You can turn just the def up then. See what happens. Let's turn up that's the def turned up. Let's turn up the rate and the def now. Tremolo is definitely not an effect I would use very often. It's, yeah, especially not at those high speeds. I usually just put, yeah, a bit of reverb on is what I always use. I don't really use any tremolo. Yeah, this amount of reverb is good. That's how the clean sounds like. I think the clean is okay. It actually doesn't sound too different from the Milkman amp that I had before, which was the 1 watt plus. I don't have it anymore, but I remember the cleans actually. The cleans of a Milkman sounds like a Fender Blonde type amplifier, so it's like in between a tweed and a blackface, I guess. So you get a decent amount of like clean tone, but it's not super clean like a deluxe reverb or a twin reverb, right? But at the same time, it's not quite as doesn't break up quite as easily as like a tweed or tweed type tone either, not like a Bassman or anything. So really, I think the Milkman is kind of in between like a Bassman and a deluxe reverb. Not quite as clean sounding as a deluxe reverb, not like quite chimey. It's not quite as chimey as a deluxe reverb, but at the same time, it's not quite as raw sounding as a Bassman either. So it's really in between. It's like a Fender Blonde amplifier, which is really in between a tweed and a blackface, right? Or you can say silverface as well. Princeton. But it's okay. It does remind me of the cleans that I had in my old Milkman 1 Plus. Which is to say, it's okay. It's not the best cleans I've ever heard, but definitely it's not bad, right? So the cleans are definitely very usable. Now, what about overdrive? So let's turn on the Black Box Overdrive 2 again. We'll turn the overdrive on. Let's check it out. It's pretty dark, right? We have to turn off the presence a bit, Again, I'm not sure if it actually sounds better than the MV50 Boutique. That's the thing. Like, I actually did like the overdrive sound on the MV50 Boutique as well. I mean, I don't think it's worse, but it's not like necessarily better sounding either. So, anyways, we can turn up the gain a bit. Tone, okay. Turn up the big gain. all in all, I think it's okay sounding. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm blown away by it. It's definitely versatile, right? This is a very versatile piece of kit. I mean, you can do the pedal out, and then it fits into your pedal chain. If you want to like just use it as a preamp pedal, it can be like that. You can use it balanced out, and it can go into your mixer, I guess. Yeah, or your DI, you know, like, or you can use it as just an amp head, like I'm doing now. So it's very versatile. I'm not necessarily blown away by the sound though, because honestly, like, I still think the $250 Vox MV50 Boutique, this still sounds really good. I'm not going to say necessarily like it sounds better than the MV50 Boutique. It doesn't really sound worse, but it's not really better either. They're just different types of sound. This one, the MV50 Boutique definitely has more of a chime to it, more clarity, just a different tonality. This one is just inherently, it's warmer and darker, I think. So I have to brighten it up. I think I probably have to use my Tube Starter Light Keeper actually, which is a kind of a preamp pedal that will kind of brighten it up a bit. But inherently, it's a bit darker and warmer. So yeah, I had to keep that in mind. Yeah, it's just more of a inherently more warmer and darker sounding amp. So I actually have my Tube Starter Light Keeper now in the signal chain. I don't know how well you guys can see that, but yeah, it's basically it's a preamp pedal by the Canadian pedal maker Tube Starter, which basically attempts to duplicate or emulate the sound of a Dumble clean channel. So yeah, I'm going to turn this on, and I think it will brighten up the tone a bit, because I think inherently the Milkman the Amp sounds a bit too dark and warm for me. So this is how it sounds like, right? Actually, here we go. So this is how it sounds like. Let's wait for it to warm up a bit. Okay. Yeah, so it sounds like kind of warm and dark. Right? Yeah, initially sounds a bit warm and dark, so I'm going to turn on the Tube Starter Light Keeper, and it's going to brighten up the tone a bit. There we go. You guys hear that, right? It brightens up the tone. Yeah, I think using a preamp pedal really helps. I mean, it's kind of funny because this is technically, it can be a preamp pedal as well. So it's like a preamp pedal into a preamp pedal. But this is, I'm using this as a head right now. So it's like, this is without the light keeper on. Yeah, it kind of sounds like there's a blanket over the amp, but then I turn it on. It's like a must. Just like with my Supro Keeley 12, it's like a always on pedal. I have to have it always on, otherwise it sounds too dark and a little bit muddy. Yeah, that's better. Yeah, by the way, the Light Keeper is also powered by a 12AX7 tube as well. So now I got one kind of a hybrid. This is like a tube pedal, right? Tube pedal, and then into like this, yeah, 2 preamp pedal into like a hybrid amp, and they both got 12AX7s powering them. Anyways, yeah, let's just play something here. I'll put the looper on and let's see how it sounds. It's a bit too loud still. Adjust the volume. The RC5 volume is. basically mid boost everything because it's still just to cut through the loop mix, right? Okay, let's try another loop here. More of a jazzy one. Let's do it. That's it. That's a bit of a demo of the Milkman the Amp. Overall, yeah, it's okay. I have to say I'm not really blown away by the sound of it. It doesn't really blow the MV50 Boutique away in the sound. It does have more headroom though, you know, as expected. It's got double the wattage basically, so it can take pedals better, which is really what I want it for, right? I want to have like a nice compact hybrid. I mean, it's just like, it takes up less room than like a full-size tube amp would, and it's lighter and everything, and also it has a decent amount of headroom. So yeah, I think that's what I was looking for. I was looking for an amp head that was like small like this, and also very portable, doesn't weigh a lot, it also has a decent amount of headroom, also doesn't take up a lot of space, and I can hook it up to like a small 8-inch or 8-inch speaker cabinet like this one, right? And then it just reduces the size of my amp setup in my room. So yeah, that's basically what I was looking for. Just like, I just wanted something that sounded as good as the MV50, but with more headroom. And I think this is pretty much it. It doesn't necessarily sound better than the MV50. I still think the MV50 sounds really good, especially for the price and the size. Like, look how tiny this thing is compared to even the Milkman the Amp, right? look how tiny it is, and it's only 250 bucks US. I mean, it's crazy. So the amount of tone you can get out of the MV50, I don't think can be matched for the price, but the amp sounds probably just as good as the MV50, just a different type of sound. It's a warmer, darker type of sound compared to the boutique version, at least here. So I have to kind of brighten it up by using a preamp pedal like the Tube Starter Light Keeper, and that's fine because I already do that in my pedal chain to brighten up my Super Ukulele anyways. So yeah, I'm just looking for essentially, you know, like a lighter, portable version of an amp that can take pedals well, and I think that's what this thing does, right? It's a hybrid amp, doesn't weigh a lot. Essentially like looks just like a pedal, and it is pedal if you want it to be. So really just kind of rests on top of my amp head like this, and yeah, it plays well with this 8-inch speaker cabinet. Now it's not going to give you as much, it doesn't sound quite as good as if you pair it with a 12-inch speaker cabinet. If you pair this with a 12-inch speaker cabinet, obviously it's going to sound louder and give you you know, even more cleans without breaking up. Just having this 8-inch one, yeah, it does add the distortion and breaks up a little bit easier. But still, you know, if I want to save space, then I'll go with the 8-inch cabinet. And yeah, it takes pedals well, I think. Has a decent amount of clean headroom, being 50 watts and everything. So yeah, I think this is probably what I'm looking for, even if this is like a few times more expensive than this one. Yeah, it doesn't necessarily sound better than the MV50, but it does have more headroom, clean headroom, and it does have built-in reverb, which is nice, right? Built-in reverb and built-in tremolo, like that's not to be taken for granted either. The fact that it has built-in effects, so it kind of saves me space on my pedal board as well. I don't need to have a reverb pedal anymore because this has a decent built-in reverb. So yeah, anyways, Milkman the Amp, guys, is very versatile. You can use it as a pedal if you want, and you can also just use the line out or the balanced out and go straight into a mixing desk, straight into your your DAW or your like direct input basically. So it's very versatile, or you could just use it as an amp head like this. So yeah, it's very versatile and has a lot of headroom, and has built-in effects, which is nice, like reverb and tremolo. So pretty much what I was looking for. And on top of that, of course, it's very portable, obviously, as well. You can just fit it into a backpack. So yeah, I think basically it satisfies what I was looking for. I was just looking for a higher headroom version of this that sounds just as good, and reasonably portable as well. And yeah, it really satisfies that, I think. So that's it, guys. The Milkman the Amp. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I think compared to that Quilter Overdrive, the Overdrive 202 I tried like maybe like a half a year ago, like this sounds way better than that. That was a completely solid state amp head, right? And I thought that could replace this one, but it didn't. This actually still sounded better. But now I have another hybrid amp head, just like the MV50, except this one with a more traditional vacuum tube. And yeah, it sounds better than the Quilter does, and still doesn't sound necessarily better than the MV50, but it's fine, you know. At least it has more clean headroom and can take pedals well, which is what I was looking for, and has built-in effects on top of that, while staying portable and also being more versatile too. So yeah, all of that while keeping the same like nice aesthetic here as the other Milkman amps, having this nice wood paneling and being made in San Francisco. That's all pretty nice, and I'm familiar with the Milkman brand, right, having owned it before. So that's it, guys. Milkman the Amp, very versatile, and yeah, I would say for people looking for a small amp head that has high clean headroom and is also very versatile, has built-in effects and everything. I mean, this is definitely one of the only options on the market right now, because there isn't too many, right, that fit that bill, right? You're looking for an amp head that's this size and also has a lot of clean headroom, and is also as versatile as this, and also has built-in effects. Like, really not a lot on the market, right? I mean, all those preamp pedals I was talking about, like the Tone King Imperial preamp or Friedman preamp, like those are just preamp pedals. They can't really drive a speaker cabinet because they don't have a power amp. This one actually does have a power amp inside of it, but you can also use it as a preamp pedal if you want to in your pedal chain. So it's got that versatility, right? So that's really nice. Not a lot of pedals on the market are like that. Yeah, you'll just see preamp pedals, right? Preamp pedals, but they're just only preamps. They cannot be power amps like this one is as well. So that's the kind of thing that makes the Milkman the Amp kind of special. So anyways, very, very versatile piece of kit. yeah, again, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Would you go for the Milkman the Amp? What do you think about this thing? I think maybe this is the future, you know? If they can, still doesn't sound as good as a full-fledged tube amp. I would say it doesn't sound quite as good as my Sword Atomic Jr. because that's like a full-fledged tube amp. Doesn't sound quite as good as that still. I think, you know, progress can be made, obviously. But, you know, we're getting there, you know. Eventually in the future, you'll come to a point where these sound just as good as a full-fledged tube amp does. And it's more versatile and lighter and everything. So at that point, tube amps will really die, you know, a quick death. I mean, they already are dying. People are using modelers, right? Modeling amps all over the place. They're using like Kemper profiles and stuff. So tube amps are already kind of dying. But if this thing gets better and it sounds as good of a tube amp, which it still doesn't sound as good as a full-fledged tube amp yet, once it gets there, then I think the tube amp will really die a true death, I think. So, yep. And it already is dying, so it's the tube amps are really on the way there, which is unfortunate because I do love tube amps, but it's just, you have to admit that tube amps they require a lot of maintenance, they take up a lot of space, they're heavy, right? There's all these drawbacks that come with tube amps, so yeah, you got to think about that as well. So yeah, I love tube amps, but it's just, yeah, they're too heavy, they take up too much space, and they require maintenance, right? You got to swap out the tubes and rebias them, and then somehow there could be an issue with one of the tubes or something. They're complicated, and yeah, it's annoying to fix a tube amp basically. So I had my Supro Keeley basically die on me. That's why I have to get a newer amp, and I was like, okay, I'm not gonna go for tube amp this time. I'm just gonna try something a little bit different and see if this can replace it, right? I'm not gonna say it sounds as good as a full tube amp, but you know, for the trade-offs is that this is a lot lighter, a lot more portable, a lot more versatile, and it's almost there. Like, it doesn't sound quite as good as a full tube amp, but it's almost there, right? Same thing with the MV50. It doesn't sound quite as good as a tube amp, but it's almost there. Very, very close. So, and it's a lot cheaper, I would say, as well. So, as you guys, let me know what you think. The Milkman the Amp is my new hybrid, amp head, I guess, that I'll be using as my main amp, essentially, just paired with this smaller cabinet. Yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching, as always.